A very warm welcome to everyone for the third day of the online faculty development program held by Jyotinivas College Autonomous. After 2 fruitful days of learning and discovery, we now move on to explore new ideas and look forward to engaging in groundbreaking discussions. Academic writing is a skill that needs enhancement due to its importance in research, as it is essential to convey acquired knowledge effectively in a specific field of study. The topic of our first session is Essentials of Writing Skills for Academic Research, which will be handled by a resource person, Dr. Parul Sharma. Both the sessions will be moderated by Mr. Sumit Dasgupta. I now invite Mr. Paul Raj to introduce our resource person for the first session. Over to Mr. Paul Raj.
Good morning. Once again, a warm welcome to day 3 of the FDP. It's an immense pleasure for me to introduce one of the speakers for this morning, Dr. Parul Sharma, who is going to enlighten us about the essentials of writing skills for academic research. This is a subject in which we should all be deeply inquisitive because writing for research publication is an integral part of higher education in today's world. To enlighten us further in this area of academic research, we have an experienced and knowledgeable speaker in Dr. Parul Sharma, who is an assistant professor at the Department of Humanities, Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology, New Delhi. A dignified holder of MA and PhD degrees to her credit, Dr. Sharma's areas of interest include communication skills and Afro-American literature. She is one of the well appreciated and popular presenters at All India Radio FM Gold since the year 2000, a member of the editorial board for Agrani Samkalap, an official newsletter of Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology, and a participant and presenter at various national level conferences and workshops. Dear friends, please join me in welcoming Dr. Parul Sharma, the resource person for today's session on essentials of writing skills for academic research. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. And let me begin. Very good morning to each one of you. Let me begin my interaction with you by congratulating the organizing committee of Jyoti Nivas College for staging a platform where faculties across various disciplines can come together and discuss new approaches of pedagogy and learning. My special thanks to Dr. Lalita Thomas, Principal Jyoti Nivas College, and Dr. Sitavi, whose initiative brought me here. I want to thank both of them personally for giving me an opportunity to, for interacting with you. So as the customary question goes, so I would be asking my audience that, am I audible to each one of you? And just allow me to share my screen if the organizers permit.
Yes, you may, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I'll be switching off the camera for the time being of my lecture, and then I would be discussing essentials of academic writing. But before that, I would like to ask this simple question to the participants. What, according to you, makes writing skills important in an academic? What's your expectation from this session? If few of the participants can unmute themselves and just let me know.
Ma'am, understanding the basic structure of concise writing in a specific field is what we are hoping for. It's easy to write a long prose on a certain field that we are interested in, but it is difficult to structure it academically. So to understand the difference and to have our own voice while keeping to the academic structure of writing is what we're hoping to learn.
Perfect, perfect. Anybody else who would like to give his or her input regarding this?
Good morning, ma'am.
Very
Also,
good morning.
we as classroom instructors, we would want to know how to make it relevant for the student community, the importance of academic writing.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So you want to make essentials of academic writing A, relevant, uh, B, very, very practical. So with these expectations, let me allow to begin my session. That is essentials of writing skills for academic research. And thank you, the respondents. As you know that in a globalized world, research has become an extremely important part of our existence. Academically active people cannot survive without a valid contribution to the world of research. And not just that, we are also expected to encourage our students towards the area of academic research. And by default, when we talk about academic research, these steps crop up in our mind, and the question of how to frame our proposal and argument automatically comes into the picture from step number 7. Irrespective of the area that we might belong to. For example, we can be from the field of applied mathematics, we can be from the field of applied physics, we can be from the field of applied chemistry, or we can be from the field of applied technology, be it IT, CSE. Research is gonna take up, or research does take an important part of our routine, and we are supposed to contribute to the research, which means that we must have an ability to familiarize ourselves with our concerned area, and then we pick up the topic, and then we go ahead with our research. After we have collected and accumulated the relevant data, the next step is to organize your research, and after that organization, we form a thesis, we form an argument, and we prepare an outline. And via this outline, we present our main argument, main agenda. Now, when we are presenting our main argument, when we are presenting our main agenda, then the question of choosing the right language crops up or creeps in, if I may use these two phrases. Yes. Once you have rock solid data in your hand and you have interpreted it in the finest form, the next step is to make sure that that data is interpreted in the same way, by the readers of your paper, and therefore, the role of language in this context becomes very, very important. Choosing the right language, choosing the right word is a struggle that every researcher has to undertake at this level, in his or her paper writing. So my struggle for presenting the right paper, decidedly begins with choosing the right language. And once I have chosen the right language, nobody can stop me from presenting a very valid, clear, crisp, and absolutely logical academic research paper. So choosing the right language, editing the content, editing for grammar, and finally proofreading and submission of your paper will complete the process of your research. So today I would be handling few of the aspects that are very, very important for an academic writer, across various disciplines. And so, but before that, we must understand, what do I mean by academic writing? Is it different from general writing? Well, of course, academic writing is a particular genre with its own distinctive style, forms of expression, and vocabulary. Academic writing, as I've just discussed with you, is something that is required by each one of us, if we are into the field of research. And even otherwise also, it's not just about publishing a research paper. Academic writing, since it deals with a formal form of writing with a distinctive expression and vocabulary, academic writing is required for we the teachers and educators at every level, whether we are teaching article writing, so whether we are publishing a blog, or we might be publishing an article for a newspaper, or we might be contributing in a major work, to a major publishing house via a chapter to that book. We would be required to be very, very technical and academic in our writing. So therefore it's important that we must understand the features of academic writing. So today the focus of my 1 hour interaction would be with you will be on understanding the features of academic writing, and more particularly I will be having few interactive slides where I would really would love to show that how we can bring in these aspects into our writing, because your writing should be clear, precise, correct and consistent. It is easier said than done. The whole idea is that I must have accumulation of these traits in my writing, in my paper, in my blog, in my article. Only then I will be a successful presenter. So academic writing, that is the features of academic writing, are: number one, it is formal; number two, it is clear and precise; number three, it has to be correct, right? It has to be correct and consistent. Number four, it has to be focused and very well structured, which means that there has to be no scope for choppy, rambling sentences. And last, but second last but not the least, our academic writing should be unbiased in every sense of the word. It should be inclusive in every sense of the word. And finally, of course, well sourced. My handling in this session will restrict myself till point number 5, that is incorporating inclusiveness in the language. So these are the 5 main points that I would like to ponder upon via my interaction with you. We must also understand what academic writing is not. Academic writing is decidedly not personal, which means, you know, uh, it is not personal, which means that I should not be using personal pronouns, personal pronouns I, we. I should try and avoid using personal pronouns in my academic writing, in my professional writing, in my technical writing, if I want to, appear objective, logical, and absolutely unbiased. So personal pronouns should give way to more generalized pronouns, and likewise active voice at times should be replaced by passive voice. These are the two methods that I've told you which you should be incorporating if you want to avoid. For example, I went out and collected the data. No, right? The data was collected. That is more better, more polished, and more professional way of stating the same thing. Language is a beautiful river, right? It changes its color, it changes its aroma, it changes the whole texture depending upon the context in which it flows. And therefore it's very much possible to avoid that personalness. It is very much possible to avoid long-winded sentence and emotive and grandiose texture to your language, so that you can be formal, clear, precise, correct, consistent, focused, and well-structured. So therefore, as I told you, it's very, very important that we should be striking the right tone with a language of our choice, right? As I've discussed, that language has to be more formal. Now, what do I mean by more formal and concrete language? Formal style used in academic writing ensures that research is presented consistently across various texts. For example, I am talking in present tense in the first 1.5 page of my research paper, right? The tense is present. And suddenly I shift the focus and I start using another variant of the present tense that I might have used in the previous. No, This mix and match until and unless the context and the time frame changes and the is not good for your academic writing. Similarly, the style of writing. Every writer is blessed with a distinctive style, or we adopt that style or we incorporate that style. That consistency has to be maintained, and that consistency can only be maintained if we adhere to something that is termed as formal, if we adhere to something as the professional demands of the writing. So therefore I must avoid conversational style when I draft an article or a paper. I must avoid cliches. I must avoid slangs, because this conversational style, it varies. It varies from person to person. It varies from conversation to conversation. It varies from number of the people involved in the conversation. So therefore, I have to have an objective style of presenting my argument, not the conversational style. Which again brings me to the point that by and large we replace active sentences with the passive ones if we feel that we are becoming too personal or conversational in our act of presentation. Cliches, that is the usage of the words which have lost their meaning in reality. So we have to be very, very conscious to avoid, because to achieve at the right path, it's important to know what we should be avoiding so that we are on right track. So we would be avoiding slang, we would be avoiding cliche, we would be avoiding conversational style in our paper presentation, in our write-ups, in our articles, in our book contributions. Now the idea is, that's true, we have to adopt formal style, we have to avoid slang, we have to avoid cliche. The whole idea is, how can I actually bring in formal style, right? One idea I told you, that you can replace the personal pronouns with the more objective ones. Apart from that, I'll discuss a couple of examples with you which go out and prove that how that formality, how that professionalism, how that formal tone or texture to your language can be given. Contractions, tag questions are great when we are using them in conversation. For example, won't, ain't, right? We are supposed to avoid contraction whenever we are presenting a paper, whenever we are writing a paper, whenever we go ahead with the submission of the paper. So the result won't improve. So it may sound good when we are speaking with each other, because that gives that conversational tilt to your sentence. But the advisable approach for paper submission will be that you use the full forms. The results will not improve until the parameters are decided. So I think with these live examples, I would be able to put across my point more clearly. Similarly, run-on expressions like etc. so forth. Absolutely okay. But when we are talking to each other, but not so proper, not so formal when we put them in writing. Because in a quality research paper, if I am talking about etc., if I'm talking about so forth, in a quality research paper, if I talk about etc., if I talk about so forth, that means somehow what is lost? Specificity is lost, that I am not being specific, right? So therefore, whereas in research paper, it is really, really important if I am specific to the point. So by by the usage of words like etc., so forth, so on and so forth, right? Or indefinite pronouns, I put my specificity, I put a question mark against my specificity, and therefore that needs to be avoided, as is the case here in this example where I say CDs, robots, etc. No, CD robots and other such devices. When I say other such devices, I'm being more specific, right? Similarly, direct questions, that means the personalized approach. Direct questions need to be avoided. What can be done to increase productivity? Sounds absolutely harmless, sounds absolutely, normal, sounds absolutely correct. Of course, grammatically it is correct. But when it comes down to incorporating this sentence or many such sentences in your research paper, think twice. And that will only happen when you will have this idea that you are supposed to avoid contraction, you're supposed to avoid run-on expressions, indefinite usage of the words. And when you know that direct questions and directly you approach should be avoided. So the better and rephrased version will be, we can now consider how production can be increased, right? And similarly, avoid addressing your reader as you. You can see the result in table number 1. The better approach, and this is what I meant, that passive, the result can be seen in table number 1. That's better, refined, more formal. For example, we have to use more formal verbs. Now you would say, ma'am, we have only heard, there are verbs which are transitive, there are verbs which are intransitive, there are verbs which are finite, there are verbs which are non-finite. But yes, verbs are called the content words in English language. Content words, that means which are loaded with meaning. I have to go ahead with more formal verbs. For example, engineers can come up with better design using CAD. Anyone who's just listening to me, of course, come up is a very, very common verb, and it is usually used in the same context. As such, grammatically, it's not an incorrect sentence, but still, what's the problem with come up? If anyone, who's listening to me could just prompt me. Engineers can come up with better designs using CAD. Expert systems can help out the users in controlling the side effects. Anybody, if he or she may unmute himself or herself. I think the organizers need to.
Ma'am, it's a kind of when we use the first verb called come up, it's kind of informal speech, when we're having discussions. But when we read the second statement, which use help out, it's more professional and it feels that we are the reader, like someone has done a research and we are going through the research. So the professionalism and the formal style comes up when we're using formal verbs, as you mentioned.
Exactly. So come up, help out. These are very generalized, verbs. Of course, as ma'am rightly said that, the impression is that they're very casual. They're very conversational in their designing. So better and more advisable approach will be to use concrete verbs. Verbs like assist, create, establish, reduce, invent, innovate, raise, determine, create. These are the verbs that you should be giving way rather than, the informal ones as in the come up or the help out. Similarly, use of more formal negative forms. For example, the analysis didn't reveal any new results. No, the analysis yielded no new results. The problem doesn't have many viable solutions. The problem has few viable solutions. And what happens when you are bombarded with a barrage of data around you and when you are presenting your argument, these are small little details that we often overlook or we do not pay attention to. Whereas if you are a careful writer, you must have, these 2 points at the back of your consciousness, that I have to use more formal verbs, and then I have to be more formal in stating the negative terms or forms in my paper. For example, doesn't have many viable solutions, the problem has few viable solutions. So again, continuing ahead with how to incorporate formal style, they say, I must remove relative clause. I must, if at all I am incorporating relative clause, then I have to be very, very clear what is, signified by the relative pronouns. Relative pronouns are those words which are used in place of a pronoun, and at the same time they're used to join two sentences, two phrases. So therefore, if I am using relative pronoun, and if it can be omitted, I should go ahead with the omission in the present context. Collagen is white inelastic protein that is formed and maintained by fibroblasts. Collagen is a white inelastic protein formed here. This relative pronoun is not required because that's understood. That's a more crisp and clearer structure that I'm talking about. The moon is a natural satellite which orbits. They say try and replace it. The moon is a natural satellite orbiting around a planet. So try and make sure that relative pronoun is omitted and you have more inclusive and more embedded clause in your sentences if possible. Sometimes I do agree that it's not possible to do away with the entire relative clause, but at times what happens, we form a habit. We form a habit of using relative clauses, we form a habit of using lots of conjunctions and combining too much of information in a single sentence. And if this becomes a habit, that will be reflected in whatever you will write, and therefore this habit needs to be checked. And when we will check it, then decidedly we would be able to achieve at least if we are able to achieve, let's say, 50% of success or 60% of success in omitting the relative clauses or embedding those relative clauses as an organic infinitives, as in this case the moon is a natural satellite orbiting around, then probably we would be able to sound, we would be able to look, we would be able to appear more formal as far as the writing is concerned. So these were the points that I discussed with you. Just a recap, that is, I have to do away with the contraction. I have to use more formal verbs. I have to do away with with more, do away with with absolute negative, informal negatives, and I have to work towards omission of relative clauses. Now, these were just a couple of examples that I picked up. I'm sure that if you would read more articles based on the same topic, you will find many examples, many instances that you can incorporate in your academic writing to make it more formal. So the idea is your language should be more formal, and when I use lots of contraction, lots of indefinite pronouns, lots of personal pronouns, then I am not being formal, I am being personalized, I'm being emotive, I am bringing uh, you know uh, emotional touch to my presentation, which would not go down well with the evaluator of my research paper. Research is always objective, the research is always something that puts logic and the thrust of the argument at the forefront, and this should not be camouflaged by the emotive language used by you. Then the next aspect, which should definitely be there in your research writing, in your academic writing, that is clarity and precision. You cannot have you cannot master the art of academic writing without clarity and precision. Again, saying that your writing should be clear, it should be precise, is easier said than done. But again, if we are conscious, they say that where there is a will, there is a way. Where there is no will, there is no way. There is a hill. So that's how we can underline this idea of being clear right from the beginning. We are all educators and we are all involved in teaching a number of students. So I think writing clearly, writing with precision, we must encourage this habit in our students right from the beginning, whether we are at an undergraduate level or we are teaching postgraduate classes. We must make sure that we go out of our way in telling and describing our students that it's very important to answer your questions clearly and precisely. Clarity is what makes the text readable, more enjoyable, because when you are clear, you would also make your reader more clear about what you want to say. If there is confusion in my mind, the same confusion will be somehow communicated to my reader. So therefore, I have to be clear in mind, clear in thought. But problem sometimes comes in when I am clear in my thought, but my expression is not that clear. So clarity can be marred at two levels. Number one, I have a muddled thought. I have a not so very clear argument. My argument is muddled. So here, unclarity, will creep in. Second, I have a very clear thought, but somehow I fumble in my expression. Somehow I stammer in my expression, and then in that case again, I would not be able to make my point very clear to the other person. So therefore, the purpose of writing, the aim of writing, the agenda of writing, and the agenda of your argument has to be clearly and precisely stated. Clarity and precision, they go hand in hand. You cannot go on and on and on about the same topic in five different ways and expect get that clarity, meaning thereby you'll have to be precise also if you want to achieve clarity. I cannot achieve clarity, with verbosity. I cannot achieve clarity with lots of explanation for the same thing. So therefore, clarity, as discussed, it comprises of idea, and that clear idea should be reflected in a clear language, in a clear grammar, in a clearer and more apt usage of words. So idea should be clear. Secondly, if idea is clear, then make sure that your sentence structures, the organization, and the usage of the grammar point towards clarity. Clarity is often marred by improper syntax, redundant words, ambiguous expressions, and too much of verbosity, not required these days. They say you should write the sentences as if they hit somebody, just like a sharp nail. So, straight to the point. So yes, improper, overlong sentences, syntax, redundant words, ambiguous expressions, they mar our clarity. And at times they create such funny expression. The lab has samples from 20 women frozen in a tank. So probably what is amiss here? 20 women frozen. Now this phrase is explaining the samples, but it has been wrongly put after women. So therefore, it is creating an ambiguous and almost hilarious interpretation. So the lab has samples from 20 women frozen in a tank. Now that is nothing but a hilarious representation of maybe a valid point that you might be trying to make, but this is what wrong usage of the language can do to your paper. A better approach will be, or the better sentence will be, break the sentence into two simple sentences. No harm. It's your paper. You are the captain of your paper. So therefore, whenever you feel that your sentence is becoming too long, or you cannot handle it, or the meaning is not conveyed, please break it into two. Feel free. The lab has samples for, from 20 women, and these samples are frozen in a tank. That way is at least what has happened. I have demarcated the subject very clearly, and now it is being correlated with the right verb. Otherwise, the previous one was an ambiguous sentence. So this is again just one simple example. Similarly, excessive verbosity. Sometimes we just try to impress the paper checker if we are writing the answer. Sometimes we try and impress the reader by the usage of the words, which may point out to common things, but by using, for example, endeavor, utilization, cognizant of, a certain, implement, facilitate. At times, we can do away with this excessive complexity by replacing them with simpler words that are easy to understand, that are easy to comprehend, and that do not conjure up, or that do not take away the mind of the reader away from the main message. But again, I'm not saying that the usage of endeavor, usage of utilization, usage of initiate, usage of ascertain will always be wrong. No, as a as a conscious paper writer, as a conscious article writer, as a conscious blogger, we must think twice. What do we want to communicate, and why we want to communicate, and for whom we want to communicate. And it is especially for whom we want to communicate. That is my audience analysis. I should always keep my audience in my mind. If my paper is meant for a journal that is being circulated among us, the laypersons as well, then in that case they say it is advisable that I should be replacing these heavy duty words with the normal words, or at least a balance should be there. So this is the whole point. Due to the fact, in the event, despite the fact, in order to, at the present moment, right, these are the phrases that that should definitely be avoided. And for example, they say, earlier we were telling our students that I beg to stay. They say, why beg? It is to bring to you. Simply bring to the notice, simply state, right? There is no use to camouflage what you want to say with n number of phrases, n number of, be direct in your approach. Only then you will achieve that clarity. So due to the fact, say because. In the event of, say if. despite the fact, use although, even though, in order to, simply to will do, right at the present moment now. So that's how small little substitutions. What I've done here, I've just substituted these phrases with simpler words, common words, words which are known to each one of us. So therefore, writing good language for a research paper is not rocket science. It's just slight consciousness and slight common sense. And with that, you can prune and edit your paper to be a clearer paper. Similarly, regardless of the fact that the results were checked, errors crept into the findings. Anybody who would try out this example before I proceed further? Anyone could try out, regardless of the facts, and I think I've already highlighted. Anyone? Can I have a response from the audience? Regardless of the fact that the results were checked, errors crept into the findings. You would say the meaning is being communicated from this sentence where we can make out.
Despite the fact.
Okay, despite the fact, fair enough, fair enough. So what she has done, despite the fact, yes, better, at least better. Good. So regardless of, now can you see the difference yourself? Regardless of the fact, it makes your writing really quaint and vague. And when you say despite the fact, you're at least you're to the point. You sound as if you mean business. Even though the results were checked, errors crept into the findings. And we make it more refined by the usage of even though. So these are the small, so although it was mandatory, the study participant were deprived of the right to sign their consent forms. Anyone from the audience can raise their hands, and then I think the organizers can unmute them. Although it was mandatory, the study participant were deprived of the right to sign their consent forms. How can I be? So these are all examples. Although it was mandatory, the study participants were, the problem lies, or please underline where the problem lies in this sentence, because that's very, very important. We are required to construct at least, these kinds of sentences. So therefore, it's important that we must know where the problem lies. Even if we have Grammarly at our back and call, Grammarly is unable to spot these kind of problems with the sentence. Grammarly will only pop up alert when there is something basically wrong with the sentence. Anyone who could point out where the problem in the sentence lies. Although it was mandatory, the study participant were deprived of the right to sign their consent forms. Although it was mandatory, this is just my way of go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Yeah, I think there seems to be a little problem with the sound, so probably I'll go ahead with the answer. Deprived.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, but I can't make out. You're audible.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, ma'am, I was thinking, is it okay if we say the study participants were not allowed to sign their consent forms? Will that make
exactly.
it a little bit better?
Right. It'll exactly. This will not just make it better, it'll make it absolutely okay. The study participants were not allowed. So bang on target. Yes, there is no need to bring in the question of rights and here. So you spotted the error perfectly and you corrected it also. The study participants were not allowed to sign the mandatory consent forms. So see, I have not just reduced the number of the words that are required. They say more, I did, I not just brought precision in my sentence. Thank you so much for the correct response. So with this slight change, with this slight modification, and this is not a difficult modification to be incorporated in your sentence. What have I achieved? I have made my sentence more precise, more crisp, and more clearer. That is the price, that is the price that I'm getting by remodifying or editing this sentence. So yes, I'll do away with this phrase deprived of the right. There's no need for that. The study participants were not allowed to sign the mandatory consent forms. That's how I proceed. And this is another example. In actual fact, every single nurse in the hospital worked for treating the patients from 3 a.m. in the morning to 12 midnight. Again, 23 words. And this is a better sentence that you see. In fact, every nurse in the hospital worked from 3 a.m. to midnight, 13 words. With again, as they say, where there is a will, you can find out different ways. And I'm not saying these can be the only solution, because as I've told you, language is a beautiful river, right? It takes the coloring of the bank, it flows around. So same is the case with you. To each his own. The idea is we must work, we must target clarity, and that clarity, if it can be achieved in any other form, that is always welcome. The next is redundancy. Redundancy is using words which roughly mean the same. For example, most crude example or generic example, I'll say, if I say return back, now that's absolutely wrong. If I say ATM machine, right? So then this M stands for machine only. So am I saying machine, machine twice? Redundancy is using words or repeating words which have all, the meaning of which might have already been communicated in the previous word. For example, return back. Either it has to be come back, or it has to be only return. And this redundancy is visible, it is obvious in so many expressions that we see around us, and sometimes we are not even aware, because we get used to those expressions. For example, full and complete, full and silent, right? Complete is enough. Interest and concern, that's one and the same thing. Similarly, redundant modifiers, future plans. Plans have to be, who makes plans for the past? Who makes plans for the time that has already gone by? End result, right? Or final result. Result is a result. Result, is ought to, if you're presenting your data after an experiment, so therefore it has to be the end point of your experiment. Similarly, redundant categories. It is yellow in color, right? When I say it is yellow in color, can you visualize yellow being in any other category of taste, shape, or state? It is yellow, right? It is yellow or blue, but still we go ahead and say blue in color, yellow in color. So these redundancy, they make this language interesting, and they're all around. But when we are talking about professional writing, when we are talking about professional write-ups, we have to just say bye bye to these redundant words. We must find out the redundancy in our sentences, in our phrases, and we have to, for example, fundamental principles or basic principles. Principles are, so fundamental principles are bound to be fundamental. So as is the case here, past history. No, history tells us I have to do away with past. So the history tells us we cannot anticipate ahead, we cannot anticipate those great events that will completely revolutionize. If revolution is there in the society, even if it's not complete, I mean, revolution is a revolution, it doesn't need any other adjective to modify it. So history tells us we cannot anticipate those great events that will revolutionize our society. As a writer, you can be the creator of both the sentences, but in case of a first sentence, you will give an impression of an amateur, whereas in case of a second sentence, you will come across as a seasoned, refined, and absolutely clear researcher. I think each one of us wants to make the second impression on the evaluators. Similarly, as I've discussed, redundant categories, mucus, during that period of time. So period of time, during that time is enough, right? Mucous membrane area, mucous membrane, that's an area only, that's the name of a. So therefore, pink in color, this was one example that I was discussing with you, so became pink, that is sufficient. So in order to be clear, I have to make sure that choppy and long sentences, as was the case here, should be pruned to simple, short, crisp sentences, right? And second thing, I have to make sure that should be no redundancy in my expressions. So these were the two important points, that A, the formal writing has to be academic writing, A has to be formal, and academic writing has to be clear, and it has to be precise. And I've showed you just few of the ways in which that formal tone, professional tone, clarity and precision can be achieved in your writing. Apart from that, of course, academic writing is always correct writing, which means, you should be correct in your facts, plus you should be correct with the grammar. I and you cannot temper with the rules of the grammar. Shakespeare could have, Thomas Hardy could, could have, but simple people like us, excuse me, I think it will be, it is advisable if you could mute yourself and then discuss. Thank you so much. Yeah. Uh, so as I was discussing that academic writing has to be correct, which means you should be correct in facts and you should be correct in grammar. We cannot tamper with the basic structure of the grammar, which means that if somehow we are standing on a shaky ground as far as grammar is concerned, please make sure you improve. And then consistency, as I've told you, that in terms of style, in terms of argument, in terms of usage of the tense, it cannot be the case that on first page you are present and without the change in the time frame, you switch to past tense in the second. No, the sentence, the tense structure has to be uniform by and large throughout your paper. Otherwise, your paper will appear like a random amalgamation of various paragraphs which are not, stitched with a singular thread. When you give any garment, any cloth for stitching, the person who's responsible for stitching your cloth uses the same kind of thread. That's important. So same is the case with style. Consistency is achieved by being conscious of uniformity of the style, and then focused and well structured. Focused means never lose track of the main agenda, never lose track of the main aim, never lose track of the main objective of writing the paper. Only then that will be achieved. And finally, your language should be well structured and inclusive. So probably this is going to be the last aspect that, because of the paucity of the time, that I'll be discussing with you. Last but not the least, please make sure that whatever language that is used by you has to be inclusive. This particular word, that is inclusiveness, is, what should I be saying, a buzzword for the modern researcher. Inclusive language is the need of the hour, for various reasons. A, we are living in a multilingual, multicultural, ethnic society, and we have different people from all walks of life and from all areas and from all sections of society. Therefore, my language, whether that is spoken language or written language, this is, I think, something that should be encouraged in our undergraduate as well as graduate, postgraduate classes, that we must make our students aware of the concept of inclusive language, and we must encourage that their answers, their articles should also represent that inclusiveness in their language, which means, as a person, as a writer, I must avoid biases, all kinds of biases, slang, expressions that reflect a discrimination against groups of people based on their race, gender, socio-economic status, or religion at times. So therefore, inclusive language will decidedly, make you, very appealing to large number of people, because you would not be alienating people because of your specific bias. And I will again give you some quick examples how biases can creep in our language. It's not that we may not be a biased person. I may be a very open person, in the sense open to different kinds of people, different kinds of, I may be a person who might not be discriminating based on the gender. But if I use a gender specific language, then probably people will form an opinion of my standing, my viewpoint, my perspective based on what I have written. So therefore, I may be an open person, I may be a very flexible person, I may be a very accommodating and cooperating person, but if my language reflects gender specific biases, gender specific words and phrases that somehow pit one gender against the other, then probably I may not be considered as a very cosmopolitan in my approach. And this has to be kept in mind, especially when we are dealing with technical writing, professional writing. For example, poet, poetess, hero, heroine, they say the better option is use poet. There was a time when we were saying hero and heroine, manager and manageresses, governors. This is a work is a work. So why segregate it? And we are, though of course this has not been accepted in a big way, but at many places, but there is only one. So you have a hero, you have a manager, irrespective of the gender, irrespective of the. And always remember that we right now we are in a society where we are trying to incorporate and provide safe spaces to the third gender as well. So therefore, hero, manager, governor, chairperson, these are the only correct, inclusive options that are available as of now. Similarly, freshman, right? What about, especially Jyoti Nivas College is a college that is meant for providing higher and empowered education to the young girls. So therefore, layman, salesman. Now, the usage of man, for example, man is mortal, and English language is infested with many such sentences. When I say man is mortal, in a way, I am saying and representing that man, man is a symbol of humanity here. Whereas the feminists across the ages have questioned this usage and say that what about the females, what about the women? So therefore, layperson, salesperson will be a better option. Earlier they said sales, so because that will include not just the males, but that will also include the females, and of course the third gender, as I was speaking about. So therefore, inclusiveness is very, very important in your paper, in your language, in your written write-ups. So probably the last step will be, so once you have written your paper, a lot of things can be fixed with a simple thing that is called revision. Please don't forget to revise your paper. You may have the best of the data under your belt, you may have the best of the argument under your belt, but until and unless you present it in a clear, precise, correct format, your data will not make an impressive entry into the minds of the evaluators. So therefore, please make sure that you work towards clarity, preciseness, correctness in your language, and at the same time your language should talk about an inclusive world, so that everyone is given an equal platform in your discussions and argument. You may read aloud, right? You may read aloud for coherence and clarity. You may reread certain sections of your paper where you feel that the reader might get lost. You may take the help of one of your friends, because what happens as a writer, we are with that content. So you can have a proofreader. You can take the help of one of your friends who can reread the script that you've written, and that ways you will have two minds working on that, and your revisions will work wonders. So writing great professional academic pieces is not difficult. The only thing we require is a willingness to write clear, precise documents with inclusive language. And if this willingness is there, I'm sure with correct step, you can take your paper forward and present the things and arguments in the way you want to present. So with that, I'll probably put a full stop to my discussion with you, because that was the time that was allotted to me. These are the few of the references that I relied on while compiling this particular paper, while compiling these particular examples. So that's all from my side for today. Thank you, each one of you, for giving me, uh, you know, time to share my views with you. Uh, so with that, I think I should stop
Thank you
my.
so much, ma'am. Ma'am?
Yes,
Hello?
Praveen sir. Yeah.
Yes. Ma'am, we have a lot of responses and questions, and I will jump right into it.
Okay.
Our first response or question comes from Kapil. He asks that academic writing is needlessly complex and sometimes opaque. Reading it feels a difficult task at one point, whether
Absolutely.
it is from an academic point of view or from a student point of view.
Hmm.
Is this a misconception, or is there a better way of understanding or writing something that is academically simple yet still put out the point?
I said, I think we are. moving in an towards an age which is going to, which lays, and I think which is going to lay a lot of premium on being simple, right? They say simple living and high thinking. That is, it's a misconception that, as I've discussed in my presentation, it's a misconception that if we if we will use difficult words, if we will use long sentences, then we would be able to impress the evaluator. It's absolutely a misconception. If I talk about the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, My Experiments with Truth, you pick up that book and you would not find even single word difficult for a layperson. And the philosophy of the truth and the philosophy of the non-violence has been so beautifully expressed by the great man. So we can work wonders with simple language, with simple structures, with simple usage of the words. The only thing is that first we need clarity. We should have clarity in our mind, and then secondly, we must make sure that clarity is communicated in a simple language. So yes, it's a misconception. If you feel that your sentences are becoming complex, break them into smaller ones, break them into smaller chunks. So that ways we would be simpler, we would be lucid. Lucidity is something that can never be achieved if you're too complex in thought. Lucidity is when you should be your reader should enjoy what you have written. So that thing should be kept in your mind when you are drafting anything. So no, you don't have to use heavy duty words or really difficult words to impress your audience. You can be very you use simple words and yet be very impressive. Robert Frost, another example I quote. Whether you pick up any piece of his poetry and you will always find very deep meaning. And similarly, another example I quote, for example, Steve Jobs' famous speech, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." The words are very simple: stay hungry and stay foolish. I cannot have a more shorter sentence than "stay hungry, stay foolish." But just try and look at the profound meaning that the fellow was trying to communicate. Stay hungry, hungry for more knowledge, and stay foolish, so that you're always inquisitive like a child. So we can say a lot by using simple words and simple sentences. Just give it a try. Next question, please. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me? One question, two parts. One is, what can be some of the activities within a classroom space that can impel students towards academic writing? And next is, how do we instill, the need to understand how serious plagiarism is for serious research writing as well as for day-to-day classroom activities. How do we instill that philosophy and outlook in student?
Right. So your question has two parts. Part one, that how can we have interesting activities in the classroom, and secondly, how can we instill in students that plagiarism is a serious offense. Well, number one, there can be so many interesting ways to incorporate love for writing good in your students. For example, it's raining. Ask your students to draft this situation in n number of different ways, and then ask them to read it out to you. Then probably I'm very sure that you would be getting different responses, and those different responses will also open up a window for your other students, that okay, this the same thing could have been said like that also. So we can give them a same situation, and we can encourage a group of 30 students or 10 students, 20 students to write on the same topic. That ways we'll have interesting, and just tell them in advance that I would not be accepting a cliched beginning or a cliched representation of the same situation. And that ways we will have more creativity. And yes, plagiarism is an offense, and that ways I think we can always encourage our students to be more creative, to be more original. You know, there can be flaws in your presentation, but don't copy it. When they submit their assignments, when they submit their notebook work, please make sure, ask them that be original. It's okay. When we are original, we are bound to make mistakes. Don't be afraid of making mistakes in the classroom, because I'm your teacher and you would be making mistakes in front of, but don't copy. So that way at least we will instill in them that how important it is to be original. And plus, in the end, we would be able to nurture a breed of young people who would put premium on originality, on creativity. And that is, I think, the sole purpose of education should be that we should somehow strike a chord that should enable and empower our students to be creative, not just in their thinking but in their expression also, right?
Thank you
Yeah,
so much, ma'am.
welcome,
We
sir.
have another question from Ananya Rao. They ask, could you please tell us how one can incorporate your own style in academic writing while adhering to the parameters that you explained?
Right. I think it is one of the most relevant, but one of the most difficult question to be answered. Yeah, mastering your own style and calling it your own. It requires lots and lots of practice. I would say that only a gifted writer is able to get his or her style right at the beginning, or right at the onset of his or her career. I think it requires practice. You write, you reread it, you submit it, you wait for the feedback. That's the process that we all have to follow. But if you want to be really quick, I would suggest that be a very good reader. Once you are a good reader, you automatically acclimatize yourself with different kinds of writing, right? And when you are reading, when you've read enough, you can place yourself vis-a-vis that kind of a writing, and it'll be easier for you to develop your own stance, and to nurture your own stance. So to develop your something that is called style of your own, it's very important to be a good reader first. Sometimes people begin by copying someone else. That's also okay initially, right? We can copy the sentence structure, but later on you have to walk on your own feet. So you will have to find out. It is a daily battle. It is a battle that every writer has to, it is, I would say, rather a journey that every writer has to initiate and undertake and fulfill. Only then we are successful in writing accomplished pieces. So a difficult thing to achieve, but not impossible. Any other question?
Hello, ma'am. We have one last question.
All right, sir.
So the question is, how does one find motivation in academic writing? Some people read frequently, then they enjoy reading, but when it comes to academic writing, it becomes a difficult task. So how does one find motivation, whether you're a student or a teacher yourself? How does academic writing is becomes easier when you're motivated to do so? So how does one find motivation?
Okay, I would say, sir, that please do not consider academic writing as something that might be different from your own area. For example, you may be from the field of chemistry, or you may be from the field of literature. Then I'm sure that you must be passionate about your subject. You must be passionate about the area. So you're using academic writing to reflect your thoughts in the same area. And when you're passionate about your own area, I do not understand, then how can you find academic writing? If you are reading something that has been written in your own area, or that is explaining, so I'm sure that writing is interesting enough. So please do not associate academic writing as something different. You are expressing your opinions in the area about which you're passionate. The only thing is that what we are saying, that just make sure that it should be clear, it should be precise, and it should be to the point and lucid. That's it. Otherwise, academic writing, of course, is closely associated with what you might be interested in. For example, if I'm interested in drama, I would be writing a paper on drama, and automatically that should incite that passion within me. If I'm interested in biology, I would be writing in biology, and therefore, the writing will just support what my passion is all about. So probably, I think this is how I interpret this question. I hope I've done justice to it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And
Most
thank you for teaching us and taking us through this journey of figuring out what is academic writing and how do we best use it, not only to help our students but to help ourselves in our academic journey. That's it for our first session. Please give
Much.
a huge round of applause for Dr. Parul Sharma. She has
Thank you.
done an
It's
amazing
so
job,
good to hear, in
us
an
a very
online platform.
concise not only giving us a very concise understanding of what academic writing can be, but also to make it enjoyable and give us the passion and inspiration that we all need. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for
Pleasure.
enlightening us today, and it has been a great experience. Thank you.
Pleasure all mine. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jyoti Nivas College, for giving me an opportunity to be here. It was a wonderful interaction with you. Thank you, each one of you. And congratulations to organizers for giving this platform to all of us. Thank you.
After that insightful and invigorating session, we now move on to the second session. The field of research is becoming competitive, and researchers face numerous challenges, especially in terms of authenticity and credibility. In such a scenario, patenting proves invaluable as it ensures originality and utility, as patents stimulate and safeguard innovations. The topic of our second session for the day is academic research and patenting. I invite Mr. Paul Raj again to introduce our resource person, Ms. Bindu Sharma.
Hello, everyone. Once again, I'm hereby glad to introduce and welcome Ms. Bindu Sharma, the second distinguished speaker for today's session. This particular session is again slightly aligned with the first session on academic research and also focuses on patenting. Ms. Bindu Sharma is the proud founder and CEO of Origin IP Solutions LLP. Origin IP Solutions LLP has been recognized by Niti Aayog Darpan Social Talks, Government of India, for excellent contribution in the field of patents, and Ms. Bindu Sharma has been recognized for her excellent leadership skills in the field of patents. She was also listed as one of the top 100 most powerful women in law by the World IP Forum in 2016. Ms. Bindu holds a postgraduate degree in microbiology and an LLB from Bangalore University and is a registered patent agent at the Indian Patent Office. She has been a speaker in more than 100 national and international conferences, academic institutions, and corporates. She has authored various books and articles, and three of her books have been honored in the European Patent Office Library. Dear participants, without further delay, let's gain some insights from the prominent person, Ms. Bindu Sharma, who has a wide range of expertise in the area of academic research and patenting. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Uh, a very good morning to all of you. Before I start, I just want to be sure if my voice is audible and screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, fine.
You're
So I sincerely thank Jyoti Nivas College today for giving me opportunity to be here with all of you today morning. Uh, So, your first talk was very beautiful by Parul Sharma. So, I thoroughly enjoyed the first session, and I hope you like the second session as well. So, the topic is academic research and patenting. Uh, so, now you know that at this point of time in India, uh, innovation has been emphasized a lot by various means. There has been lots of emphasis on Startup India, Innovate India, Make in India. So now this is the time for us to focus more on how we can bring change in the society by creating products and processes that can change the way we are handling things right now. And if you see, most of the times the solutions are not very complicated. The most innovative product you are holding in your hand now, uh, and if you see, most of the US applications, patent applications that are filed, in majority of patent applications, you will see one Indian innovator. So when Indians are doing so well internationally, so what is that is stopping us from innovating in the country and building the products in house? And especially when academic institutions are concerned, the root is in the academic institutions, because the students, they are future of tomorrow. So when students have knowledge about how they can innovate, it really impacts the workplace they get into later on in their life. So having innovation, protecting innovation, and bringing that innovation in the market is the complete cycle, to take innovation to its destination. So in today's presentation, I'll talk about what is like a patent, how is it filed, and how is it important for the academic institutions. Albert Einstein said that the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge but imagination. What this means is that with knowledge you can reach only from A to B, but with imagination you can reach anywhere. So, majority of breakthrough innovations that have happened in the past, in the world, they were result of imagination. So like if you take example of first aircraft by Wright brothers, till the time Wright brothers came up with this apparatus, nobody could imagine that it is a possibility for human beings to fly in the air. So so that's why, for innovation, imagination is much more important than the knowledge. Now, just see this very simple product, life-saving dot. Uh, Beauty of this product is its simplicity, ease of use. Indian women, they have been found to have iodine deficiency. So, in order to fulfill the need of iodine, there are various solutions. Okay, so now when you look at a problem, try to find out how many solutions are possible to solve that particular problem. Now, if we take iodine deficiency as a problem, what could be the possible solutions? How do we meet iodine requirements in women? What could be the possible solutions? You can either type or you can unmute and speak also. What could be the possible solutions? You can unmute and speak, or you can also type in the chat box. How can we solve the problem of iodine deficiency in women? How can we solve problem of iodine deficiency in women? Okay, Sukanya has written, we can increase nutrients and food intake. That is fine. We can introduce injections. We can also, okay, I think admin has to enable unmute. So we can have tablets of iodine. We can have iodine in the salt. We can have iodine as an injection. So, but in this particular innovation, what they have done is they have put a lining of iodine underneath a bindi. All Indian women, they wear bindi, and it's nothing but a transdermal patch. So the moment a woman wears bindi for a particular period of time, the daily requirement of iodine is taken care of. So this is such a beautiful and simple innovation, and it is called as life-saving dot. So this is how, a solution of a complicated problem could be very simple. I just want you to watch this video.
Ma'am, The video that you're playing doesn't have an audio. We can't hear it, we can only see it. Hello, ma'am?
Okay, so I hope you liked this video. So the purpose was to let you know that how a simple solution can solve a very big problem. Now, there is a second video I'm going to show you. So in this particular video, we have ice trays in the fridge. So sometimes they become very clumsy and it's difficult to take out ice from ice tray. And if you have to carry ice to some other place, then you have to really look for another container wherein you can put ice and carry it somewhere. So in this, what they have done is this is apparatus made of silicone, and you can put water. There is a layer inside wherein you can put water, and then the moment you squeeze it a bit, all ice comes in the center, and you can carry this as a ice box also. Just watch this and enjoy simplicity and beauty of this product.
Ma'am? Excuse me, ma'am?
Hello. Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, please tell me.
Ma'am, the video is being played. We can't hear anything. There's no audio.
Okay, okay. Fine, I think it's over anyway, so we'll just move on to the next. Okay. So, and natural ice cream, all of you must have tried. So, the beauty of natural ice cream is that it comes with the natural flavor of different fruits. And if you visit the store, the natural ice cream store, you will never find a person eating just one ice cream. So the innovation here is in the form of the real fruit flavors, and the consumer feels that he's consuming the real fruit. So there is no artificial element in that ice cream. If you have had a chance of trying ID food products, and especially this filter coffee decoction packing, you will see that it is strikingly different and it looks very different in the shelf when you visit any store. So here the design of packing is unique. Maybe the coffee decoction remains the same, but there is novelty in the design of the packaging material they have used. And similarly, they have now grated coconut and tender coconut water also coming in the form of the coconut itself. Now, if you see their vada making batter, so it's not just batter, but the packing you see here, and there is a nozzle on top of it. So when the batter is poured through this nozzle, it takes shape of the vada with the hole. So anyone can make a perfectly shaped vada using this nozzle. So they took around 3 years time to come up with this nozzle that could make vada with the hole. So it was like, they tried various designs. They tried even the frozen batter that can be used for making vadas. But finally, the design that was, finalized by them was this particular nozzle, which helps to make vada in perfect and preferred shape and size. Now, what is intellectual property? Just to give you definition, so as the name indicates, intellectual property is creation of mind. Whatever your mind creates, if it has novelty, if it has value, it can be registered. Like when you buy a new house or new land, you have to register it. In the similar way, uh, when you have any creation of mind, any new idea, new product, new process, new way of solving existing problem, you have to register it. When you register it, it is in your name. You get certificate that, okay, this particular product has been registered in the name of Jyoti Nivas College. But if you do not register it, for example, if there is a land and you don't register it, so it is likely to get encroached by somebody else. So similarly, if intellectual property is not registered, then third parties or anyone else can encroach upon your intellectual property, and you may not even get any kind of acknowledgement for what you have created. So there are certain types of terms and conditions that one has to fulfill, and after that, intellectual property is registered in your name, and you get certificate from Government of India that this particular intellectual property is registered in the name of inventor. Depending upon kind of intellectual property, it can be registered in various ways. Patent is the most common way to register intellectual property. So patent is granted to the inventions, and invention could be either product or process. In the picture above, you see that, if there is a particular product, so this is the kind of drawings that we submit with patent specifications. And a patent is valid only for 20 years, and after 20 years it comes in public domain and people can use it without your permission. Patent rights are country wise. Indian patent is valid only in India, and US patent is valid only in the US. So if inventor wants rights in 5 or 6 countries, then application has to be filed in all those countries separately. So patents are granted only to inventions that may be product or process. On the other hand, copyright is a kind of intellectual property that is granted to the works of authorships, your research papers, theses, literary work, artistic, cinematographic, artistic, musical work. All these kinds of works are registered under copyright law. Uh, and then we have trademark, most common form of intellectual property which you see around. Trademark is nothing but brand name or logo or tagline, and trademark is a very important asset for any business. And trademark requires to be registered to claim ownership. Like name of your college, Jyoti Nivas College, and your logo, it comes under trademark. So most of the trademarks, they will have some significance in terms of their name. What does Paytm stand for as a trademark? What is meaning of Paytm? What does Paytm stand for? Anyone? What does Paytm stand for? Pay through mobile. Okay. Nestle was started by Henry Nestle in 1868, and from there the name Nestle came. Baskin Robbins, if you see in the middle, uh, you can see the number 31. So Baskin Robbins logo says that they have one flavor for each day of the month. So that's why 31 you can see in the middle. Biba is women apparel brand, and Biba word in Punjabi means woman. And this peacock feather you see on the left is a kind of motif which represents artistic nature of the business. Then we have Amazon. Now, in Amazon logo, you see there is an arrow going from A to Z, and it indicates that Amazon has all products from A to Z. Then we have the logo Picasa, wherein in the middle you see the home kind of image. So Picasa is home of all the pictures. Then we have FedEx. So FedEx has been a very popular trademark, and it has won various awards because if you see clearly between E and X, I'll just try to now between E and X, you see there is arrow which is getting formed, right? So this is a very clever use of negative space because they have used the negative space to represent arrow. Okay, so FedEx has got various awards for this innovative uh, uh, negative space usage. Then Havel is the name Havel has been derived from the name of the founder of this company, Haveli Ram Gandhi. MDH is an abbreviation, Mahashyandi Hatti. Hatti word in Punjabi means a shop. Then we have design as another form of intellectual property. So in design, there is protection given to the aesthetic look and feel of the product. If you see in the first image, there is a toothpaste. So toothpaste here remains same, but this particular part of the toothpaste, this thing, is innovative and it is protected by design because it's just aesthetic look and feel of the product. Now, this design of a bicycle is industrial design. Then this design of a chair is industrial design because here the value of a product is only in the aesthetic look and feel of the product. Then we have geographical indication as intellectual property. So in simple words, geographical indication means specialty of a place which needs to be registered. For example, Pashmina wool from Himachal Pradesh. Then we have Mysore silk from Karnataka, Bidri work Karnataka, chicken work from Lucknow. Then this pattern of woolen shawls again from Himachal Pradesh and Madhubani painting. So these all are specialty of different places and they are registered as geographical indications. Some more geographical indications from Karnataka include sandalwood oil, then jasmine flower, uh, pan leaves, wooden toys which you see on the way to Mysore in Chenpatna, uh, elaichi from Karnataka, rose onion from Karnataka, and Mysore sandal soap from Karnataka. They all are registered geographical indications. So any specialty of the state needs to be registered, and there are many more geographical indications like Kundan, like diamonds from Surat. Uh, then you have Nagpur oranges, Banganpalli mangoes. So there are various varieties of mangoes that are registered. And if you see internationally, then Colombian coffee, champagne, Scotch whiskey, Havana cigars, they all are registered geographical indications in their own countries. Coming to traditional knowledge, which simply means know-how, skills, and practices that are accumulated in the generations. Like you take, whenever you have cold, you take ginger honey because your grandma told you to have it. So this traditional knowledge keeps accumulating from generation to generation, and traditional knowledge is best protected by documenting in documenting it properly so that no third party acquires legal rights over it, and that's how traditional knowledge is protected. In India, we had various cases wherein the traditional knowledge of country was exploited by the foreigners. You take example of turmeric patent, neem patent, basmati patent. So there is need to protect traditional knowledge by documenting and publishing it so that there is a public record that this is a traditional knowledge of country and nobody should try to have patents over it. Some examples of traditional knowledge are like folk dances and folk songs. Then you have like a wound healing property of turmeric is a traditional knowledge. Then neem is used for various purposes as a fungicide. So that again is traditional knowledge of our country. Then there are various kinds of folk dances that are uh, that can be categorized as traditional knowledge of the country. CSIR is maintaining traditional knowledge digital library wherein they have documented all traditional knowledge based on different plants, and we have translated this TKDL in various languages. So the moment there is a patent on traditional knowledge, examiner of patents can check whether this is traditional knowledge of our country, and based on that they decide whether to grant a patent or not to grant a patent. Trade secret is another kind of intellectual property wherein protection is given to the secrets of business. Secret of business could be in the form of Coca-Cola recipe, it could be McDonald's sauces or aloo tikki, or it could be KFC, that secret masala that has been herbal masala that has been used. So similarly, lots of industries, especially in food industry, you will see that there are lots of trade secrets. You eat the same dish in different restaurants and it tastes different, even though the same ingredients have been used. So there are some secret tricks or secret formulas that they have been using in their industry, and these secret recipes are called as traditional trade secret. Now coming to the main topic for the day, what is a patent? So patent is a statutory grant. Whatever you have invented, you write it on a piece of paper and you submit it to the patent office. They review it, and if everything is fine, they give you legal rights over your write up, and you have protection in the form of patent for 20 years. And patent rights are completely country wise. So if you want to have rights in the US, you have to apply patent separately in the US, and patents are granted only to the inventions. When we say invention, it has to be substantially improved version of whatever is available in public domain. So there is a definition of invention given in the Patent Act. So if we look at history of patents, so before independence we have various versions of Patent Act, but after independence we had first proper Patent Act, which we refer even today with lots of amendments, that is called as Indian Patents Act 1970. So this is a landmark statute that we have in the country, and the Patent Act which is used today is the same Indian Patents Act 1970. Even though there have been lots of amendments done in the Act from time to time, but the basic structure more or less remains the same. Now, you will ask me a question, why should we file for patents? Because we are very happy doing publications and life is easy. You don't have to spend anything on paper publications. But on the other hand, there is a good amount of expenditure required to file for patents. So why should you file for patents and why not publication? So the major difference is that your publication does not give you any kind of protection. In fact, you disclose everything and make it public. But patents give you protection. You can claim rights over your invention by filing for patent. And when you own your invention, you can say that I have competitive edge in the market. I am the one. Jyoti Nivas College is the one to come up with the COVID vaccine. So there is acknowledgement, okay? And there is ownership. We own the technology to manufacture the vaccine. Now, when you own a technology to manufacture vaccine, you can give technology to whosoever you want for a particular fees, whereas in case of publication you just make things available to the public, but you do not claim rights over the invention as such. For your college, it could be a good branding. Lots of news come. Shulini University is filing so many patents. Semiti University filed 1,000 patents, So ITs are filing. So it brings, kind of reputation and branding for your organization. So when patents are commercialized, it could be a good source of revenue for your college. And for your institution, having partnerships with industry becomes very easy, and it definitely would help in the placements later on. So in due course of time, having patents help you in multiple ways, provided quality of patents is good. In order to get a patent, your invention has to be novel, it has to be inventive, and it has to be industrially useful. I'll explain you briefly what these three conditions are. But if these three conditions are fulfilled, you will be granted a patent without any hassles. So there is a way to check. The first condition is that your invention has to be novel, and there are some public databases wherein you can check whether your invention is available in public or it is really novel. So Google Patents is the most handy database you can use. Apart from this, you have eSpaceNet, USPTO, Indian Patent Office database. You have World Intellectual Property Office organization database. So you have some 5, 6 popular databases that you can use and check whether your invention is new or somebody has already done it. So when you compare your invention clearly with the existing knowledge, you can find out what is the level of novelty in your invention. So simply speaking, you can assume your invention to be novel if there is no public disclosure about your invention in any public domain. So you check in Google Patents, but you don't get any hit. So you can assume that your invention is novel. But in case you are going for some product development or filing for patent, I suggest that you should seek professional help to assess patentability of your invention. And this case study I'm giving only to make you realize that your own publication can stop you from getting a patent, because patent requires your innovation to be novel on the day of filing application. So if you have disclosed it before filing a patent application, then on the day of filing, your invention will not be novel. So there is this case for Minto versus Mint More. So in this case, the inventor himself made publication about his invention, and later on, when they filed for patent, the examiner objected, saying that you have made your invention available to public before filing for patent application. So this case makes us realize that we should not make any publication till the time patent application is filed, and after filing for a patent you can make your paper publication. There is no harm in that. So never golden rule is never publish or make any kind of public disclosure before filing a patent application. Second requirement to get a patent is that it should have inventive step. What does this mean? Like, I cannot combine two existing products and say that I have new product. So if A is known, B is known, I combine both of them to make a product that is called C. So it is not a patentable invention. So inventive step means that there has to be technical advancement compared to the existing knowledge or existing product. So if there is no value add, then it does not qualify to be called as a patentable invention. Uh, just one example I'm giving you, like Samsung has foldable phone. So it may be called as inventive, it may be called assumed to be having inventive step. The third requirement to get a patent is that it should have industrial application. So whatever invention you have, it should have capacity of being made or used in the industry. So there are three conditions to get a patent. One is it should have novelty. Second is it should have inventive step. And third condition is that it should have industrial application. Once these three criterias are in place, then uh, then there should not be any issues getting patent on these inventions. If you look at some of the most powerful inventions of the world, we can say that most powerful inventions or the oldest inventions in the world is wheel. We are using wheel even today for the same purpose and more or less the same shape. Only difference is that maybe the material it is made of has changed, but wheel is one of the oldest and powerful innovations in the world. Nail is also considered to be powerful. Then we have compass, then we have electricity. Internet, I do not need to explain you how powerful internet is. Then the first aircraft by Wright brothers is powerful because before this aircraft, there was no way human beings could even think of flying in the air. Steam engine. Printing press became a very powerful invention because before printing press there was no way to make copies of the work, and there was no copyright law before printing press because there was no way to make copies of the work other than you just rewrite it. Thomas Alva Edison, different versions of electric bulb. They also the electric bulb is also considered to be powerful inventions in the world. Now, if you happen to see the site of NASA, they have listed very beautiful inventions for available for licensing on their website. One of the most beautiful products was this finder. When this earthquake happened in Nepal a few years ago, this finder instrument was used there because this is a very unique product wherein it could sense the heartbeat of a person even if the person is buried 10 feet below the earth. So this is a very sensitive instrument, and it has helped authorities to save various lives. So this is just one product, but NASA has various other beautiful products which are useful for humanity. Now, before filing for a patent, there are a set of precautions you should be requiring. First of all, document your invention well. So you can't afford to be lazy when you are filing for patents, and there is no other way out, but you have to document your invention well. In the institution, you should have right policies and processes in place. You should you should have IP policy saying what is the process taken up in the college to file for a patent, who is going to own the patent, who is going to be the inventor, how is security, confidentiality taken care of, who is going to spend money to file for a patent, how is the commercialization of this invention will take place. So right IP policies and processes have to be there across your institution. Uh, Ownership, confidentiality, these are some of the very critical things that we see in day-to-day life in the academic institutions. Uh, Generally, true and first inventor should file for a patent, but when you are working for your college, so you will most likely have to assign your invention to the college so that your college owns the invention and you remain in the patent application as an inventor of the application. For example, there is there is an inventor called Pooja Sharma. So Pooja Sharma from Jyoti Nivas College invents something. So when patent application is filed, the owner of the patent is Jyoti Nivas College, but Pooja Sharma remains the inventor. So Pooja Sharma's name will come as an inventor of the invention in the patent application. This was the first patent that was filed in Indian Patent Office, and this you see that this is called as Pankha pulling machine. It was granted in 1956, and you see this kind of drawings are submitted in the patent application. And in India, you can submit your application either in Hindi or English. There is no other language which is accepted. And we have 4 patent offices in India: Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta, and Chennai. Okay, so depending upon which state you are from, you can choose the right patent office. From Bangalore, we file all of our applications in Chennai patent office. So before you start your research, you have to document your invention. You have to assess novelty. So just find out whether there is any value add in your work, or you're just replicating what others have done. And if there is novelty, you must go for patent application. So I don't know if Jyoti Nivas College has filed any patent so far or not, but if you have not filed before, you must start at least with 2 or 3 patents this year. And if you have already filed, then I will be more than happy to guide you on how you can improve quality of your patents. And if there are some good patents, we can always help you with commercialization of those patents. And you can file in foreign countries also. Suppose there is any innovation, you feel that there is good scope in the US or Europe, you can file your application in those countries as well. When you're documenting your invention, you have to focus on 3 things. You have to document what is novel in your application. You have to document very well what is a technical difficulty for which you are finding a solution. And third is you have to document how does your solution work. Now, this picture you see is like what this lady is holding in her hand is a kind of pipe. So this pipe has multiple stages of different filters. So any water you drink through this filter becomes potable water, drinkable water. So it is a very useful invention for developing countries, or in case of any natural disaster when there is a water crisis. So this is a very beautiful innovation, and I personally like this invention a lot. Fundamental question, most frequently asked question is, can idea be patented? So idea cannot be patented till that time idea has capacity of being executed. So you cannot have hypothetical ideas and file patents for it. But if your idea is first stage of your invention, then you can file provisional application with idea, but later on you have to submit complete details. So hypothetical things cannot be patented. If your invention has capacity of being executed, then you can definitely go for a patent. Just because only 3 conditions are required to be fulfilled in a patent, and you can expect a patent to be granted. So sometimes very funny innovations they get patents. So if you look at this example, this is a bed wherein there is a space for your pet to sleep. Okay, so this is a granted patent. So if it is novel, industrially useful, inventive step, then examiner cannot deny a patent. So he has to grant you a patent. Now look at this picture. So many times in life we do good work, but people don't appreciate. So if this is the case, then you can buy this product. This is a wooden stand kind of thing. It just fits on your shoulder. You pull this string, and this hand pats your back, and you can feel good that you have well done. So this is pat on the back apparatus. This is a very funny invention, mustache guard. It was granted in 1876. I don't know whether somebody manufactured it or not. Okay, if your dog has long ears and they obstruct when he is eating something, then this is animal ear protector. During lockdown, many of us we have put on weight. So if you have put on weight and you're trying hard to lose the weight, here is very funny invention for you. This is a mask that can put that you can put on your mouth. So so whenever you are feeling hungry, you can put this mask, and there is a lock also, and you can lock your mouth. So after your desire to eat has gone, you can unlock and be happy. Okay, so this is anti-eating mask. This is a helmet with cactus growing in the inside layer, and it is greenhouse helmet. If you have a snake as a pet in your house, then you can buy this snake collar, and this snake collar helps you manage your snake when you're taking your snake for morning walk. This is invention, this is diaper for the birds, and to my surprise, many companies are manufacturing this diaper. Okay, so I will skip some of my slides because it's already 10:48. I'll probably briefly take you through. There are some inventions that are non-patentable in India. If there is anything you have invented which is contrary to to well-established natural laws, you cannot patent it. Anything injurious to human, animal, plant life, health, or environment are not patentable. You cannot patent an instrument to kill a person, a better instrument to pollute rivers. Anything that helps pollution in any ways cannot be patented. So discoveries are not patentable. You have to have invention to get a patent. So if you just mix two products, that becomes a admixture. So admixture cannot be patented. It's only if there is synergy in the properties, admixture can be patented. If you look at this picture, it is chair and umbrella. Two products are combined. So umbrella is known, chair is known. So if you're just combining two well-known products and you think that you have come up with a new product and you can get patent for it, that's not true. You will never get patent for it because this is just a combination of two existing products. And computer programs are not patentable till the time there is a hardware component in it. Mathematical method, business method, and algorithms, they are not patentable. Plants and animals as a whole cannot be patented. Literary, dramatical, musical work, scheme, rule, method of performing a mental act, presentation of information, topography of integrated circle, and traditional knowledge is not patentable. And we also have a guideline saying that any invention related to atomic energy is not patentable because such invention may be threat to national defense and security. I'll just take you through the process of patent filing. So when you have a patentable invention and you have done your patent search and all, you can file your application in India. In case you are interested in foreign filing, you can do it within 12 months from Indian filing. Indian Patent Office will publish your application after 18 months. Then examiners in patent office, they will examine your patent application, and if everything is fine, they don't have any objection, so patent will be granted. And after patent is granted, you have to pay annual renewal fee to maintain your patent. So violation of patent rights is called as patent infringement. So probably I can skip this particular part and give you some examples. So suppose you have any innovation, you have filed for a patent and patent is granted. So you have choice of licensing or selling your patent to the industry so that you can generate revenue from your patent. This is one example. Everyone wants to eat ghee, but the people with cholesterol problem have limitations. So this technology to make ghee with 85% less cholesterol was developed by NDRI, National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal, and they filed patent for it and they licensed it to Patna Dairy. And the Patna Dairy is now manufacturing this ghee under the brand Live Light. And this is the way NDRI could license and commercialize their invention through Patna Dairy, and they could make revenue out of it. Post-it, very simple product, but it did so wonderfully in the market that in the year of 2012, they made a revenue of 29.9 billion USD. Now, if you see, this product is a very simple product, but it solves some existing problem, and people found it very handy to make notes using, post-it. We all use blanket during winters, but this is a blanket where you can wear the blanket. You're in bed and you can wear the blanket. It is called as Snuggie. It is a fleece blanket, and this product did very beautifully in the market, and they long back, I mean, they sold some 3 million blankets, and good revenue was generated using these blankets. Now, none other than Ray-Bans is manufacturing this product. It is called as Doggles. Why Doggles? Because it's Google style sunglasses. and they protect eyes of pet against UV rays or debris or dust. And this is a very successful product in the market. You would have seen during Christmas time these koosh balls. So koosh balls were just like that. They were invented, and during Christmas times in 1997, they sold products worth 100 million USD. Now you see these are very simple innovations, but they just match the need of the consumer. Now, for the institutions like Jyoti Nivas College, how do we start the process of innovation? It's not a very complicated process, but it can start with training of faculty, students, and you have taken step today, and I have taken sessions for your college earlier also. So I'm confident that training of faculty and the students is going on in your college. Apart from this, across various departments, you need to have IP audit done to list out the innovations that are happening. And after you document all the innovations, you can shortlist some good ones, and after proper screening, you can consider few of them to be filed as patents. And when you do that, it's important to have good IP policies and set up IP processes, because otherwise nobody will know what to do with the innovation. You have everything, but if you don't have right policies and right processes, you will not be able to channelize them properly. So training of the staffs, IP audit, screening of the inventions, filing for IP, and IP policy. These are some steps. So after you have these four steps in place, quality of your research will improve for sure, because you will have some screening processes in place. When you file for patents, and suppose your patent is commercialized very well, then it is a good branding for your institution. You have good biotechnology department, botany department. I know in your college you have good departments. So suppose your microbiology department comes up with a good process, good and easy to use fermentation process to manage garbage, and BBMP takes up that technology. Just imagine what kind of branding it brings to your institution. Not only branding, but lots of money also. And your students will be preferred by the industry. Everyone wants innovative students and innovative employees, and placements certainly will be better. And you can expect more startups from your college. And I highly recommend Jyoti Nivas College to have their own incubator. There are lots of colleges that are having now incubators, and they are getting good support from the government and good support from the industry. So if there is no incubator here so far, you have good space. I remember when I started my career in IPR. In 2009, we did our first training in Jyoti Nivas College. So we had some 15 students during that time, and that was such a wonderful experience being in your college. So we used to have trainings on Saturday or Sunday. Uh, so for those of you who want to have career in IPR, because for science students, especially for science students, IPR is a good career option. So you can be a patent consultant like me. I am also postgraduate in microbiology, and later on I cleared my patent agent examination. So there is one exam conducted by Indian Patent Office called as Indian Patent Agent exam. So once you clear that exam, you are authorized to practice patent law in India. So for those of you who are interested in careers in IPR, I think it's a good option provided you have graduation in science. So this is YouTube channel that we have. So there are good number of videos here, and we have courses in Udemy. If you search by my name, Bindu Sharma, you will find courses on IPR very nominally priced. So if you want to purchase any of the courses, you can do that. And we have lots of downloadable books that are free, so you can use them for your studies. And in case you want to have some books for your library, you can always let me know. So I end my presentation, and I think I'm right in time, 10:58. Maybe few minutes we can spare for discussion. uh, you can you can just let me know if you have any questions.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much. We have few responses and questions. We'll start with the first question that asks, what are the challenges in documenting or protecting traditional knowledge? For example, if there is a folk song that is not patented or protected in some way, can a music director use it for their film? How will the rights of those particular groups can be protected? And also on top of that, how do we create a sense of awareness amongst communities that have these traditional knowledges?
Okay, suppose there is a folk song and we are making it a commercial song. Then typically they have to identify the community to whom the song belongs, and there has to be some benefit sharing with that community. First of all, consent is required. Consent, and then if the producer is making money out of that, then the producer is supposed to share money with the community. And in case they are not able to find out the community, then acknowledgement definitely is required. You have to acknowledge that you have used the song and the lyrics belong to this community. Okay. uh, okay, then there is a question. Can I read through the questions?
Yes, ma'am. Our next question is, what are the monetary benefits that are associated with GI tagging or patent or copywriting?
So, GI, suppose you are buying saffron. I'll just give you example. You are buying saffron, but saffron is just XYZ. Okay. So, but now you have a GI tag on it, which says that this saffron has directly come from J&K. It definitely brings more authenticity to the product. So, quality is assured when you get GI tag, and GI tag is given by the government only after the product is registered as GI. So GI is it brings lots of genuineness to the product. Okay, so that's why it brings goodwill also. And patent is like monetary benefit of a patent or copyright is you own your patented technology or copyrighted work. So I'll just give you one example. So suppose I invented COVID vaccine, but I belong to a college like Jyoti Nivas College, but I don't have capacity to manufacture vaccine myself. So what I do is I license my technology to Bharat Biotech, and then Bharat Biotech manufactures the vaccine on my behalf, and they say that whatever money we make will pay you 4% of that of the money that we are making. So this way, that 4% becomes source of revenue for me. It becomes a recurring source of revenue for me. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another question that asks, advanced countries are trying to patent neem or turmeric. What actions have been taken by the Indian government in order to protect these things?
See, when such patents are granted, we as in Indian government, we have right to oppose grant of such patents. So what we did in these cases, we opposed these patents, and then these patents were revoked. We went there to USPT with all evidences that, see, this is our knowledge, so you cannot grant patent on this. And when once we had proper documentary evidences to prove that turmeric, neem, haldi, they all belong to us, they could revoke those patents. But that is one way that patents were granted and we revoked them. But long-term solution is that we should not enable grant of such patents. So that's why we have documented now traditional knowledge, and we are documenting it further. It is an ongoing process, and once we document it, examiner can check TKDL before granting patent itself and reject such grant of patents.
Thank you, ma'am. We have the last question of the session. How can institutions facilitate patenting, and what are the logistics that are involved in it?
See, institutions, they need to have, first of all, some processes in place, because nothing will happen till the time you have particular process. That how Jyoti Nivas College is looking for having patent. What is the eligibility? You can, like, unlike publication, you cannot file patent for everything. Out of 10 projects, only out of 10 publications, maybe one or two will qualify for a patent. So you need to have, first of all, experts on board. we are consulting many academic institutions, so we help them understand whether you should file patent for it or not, because it is just first patent you file and lots of things are clear to you. So you should first of all have awareness, which is like already happening. Then you should have guidelines on what are the steps to convert your research into patent. So some of them they will qualify for patent, and then you can take it up. You can just take help from people like us. We will help you file for patent, because you need to have a registered patent agent to file your applications, and we have lots of patent agents in team, and we help you file for patents. We are already working with institutions like VIT, Manipal University, many more actually. It's a long list. So you can take help from consultants and enable this. And it's not at all rocket science. It's simple. You file your first patent and then you become more confident. But
Thank you
you
so
must
much,
start it.
ma'am.
But you must start it. At least in 2022, you must start it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With this, we come to an end of our session. This has been an amazing and eye-opening session. Thank you so much, ma'am. On behalf
Thank you.
of the Jyotirnivas College Autonomous Management, our dear Principal, Dr.